Hey, what's up? How you doing? How's your training going? Good, I hope. If not, why not? Get back on it. Now, my friend Jonas from Advanced Muay Thai Techniques has just put up a video talking about roundhouse kicks and about whether you should pivot into them or whether you should kick with a flat foot. So when you're pivoting, you're coming up essentially onto the ball of your toes, you're raising your heel off the ground and turning into it. When you're kicking with a flat foot, typically you're stepping into it, you're just placing the foot and then turning your hips over into it. I don't really want to get into the specifics of the technique, the specifics of how to throw a roundhouse kick, whether you're throwing it, like karate or Taekwondo style, whether you're kicking from the knee, kicking from the chamber, or whether it's actually like a Muay Thai roundhouse kick where you're kicking from the hip and you're turning the hip over. Like Jonas, I'm going to assume that you already know how to do a roundhouse kick, but I want to discuss why would you pick the pivot? Why would you pick the flat foot? Most places will allow you to do both. There's very few places nowadays that would be so strict and say, you've got to kick this way or you've got to kick that way. But I have been to a few gyms like that in the past where it's maybe more of the kickboxing gyms where they would get you kicking on the ball of your foot all the time. But I have been to Thai boxing gyms like Camp Sititong in Thailand where they was having me kick up on the ball of my toes all the time. That was just that particular week. But you get some people who will defend with almost like a religious zeal. You have to kick on the ball of your toes. You have to do it this way. It's the only way. Well, the advantage of kicking on the ball of your toes is that typically it's a little bit more agile. If you're pivoting up onto the ball of your toes, you can typically bring the kick back and repeat kicks. If you're going to throw more than one in a row, whether you're keeping the chamber up or whether you're going to then come back down on the ground, pop, 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 pop. You're going to come up onto the ball of your toes. You're going to come up, and swing with the hip or turn the hip over. If you're going to step and put the foot flat, it's much more stable. Okay, but you're going to lack a little bit of that ability to pivot in and out, which, depending on your options, depending on the rules of the fight, depending on how your opponent reacts, all these things are going to change why you're going to do it. Now, whenever I think of kicking with a flat foot, and I think of professional fighters, I always think of the Diamond, Raymond Deckers, the Dutch turbine from hell, one of the best Thai boxers ever, without a doubt. There's no discussion about that. And when he would turn onto his flat foot, he wouldn't just turn into the kick, he'd bring his whole body over with it. And I love that heavy, hard style of kicking, of really getting some oomph into it. That's the whole point of a heavy kick, isn't it? Tip tap in, it's not like the film Kickboxer, is it? But then you've got the disadvantage of, you've committed to this heavy thing, so if someone can move out of the way, they may be able to counter you. But you have the advantage of when, let's say somebody counters, you're up on your toes, you're throwing a nice roundhouse kick, and your opponent counters with a low kick, bam, they kick the supporting leg. If you're up on your toes, you've got less contact with the ground. You're more likely to go for a free trip. You're more likely to have your legs up on the air and landing on your back. So if you're on the flat of your foot, you've got more contact with the ground. You're a bit more stable. Depending on where you position your toes, you might be able to take a kick to the leg and get your other leg back on the ground without going down. So, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. When I'm teaching, typically I will teach people to kick and come up onto the ball of your toes first. So you're coming up, you're pivoting into the roundhouse kick. And when they've got the agility and the control, when they've got the balance down, when they can do that, then I'll also teach the flat foot variety as well. I've just found that, at least in my observation, at least in my experience over the years, when people learn the flat foot variety first, they have a bit of trouble learning the pivot coming up onto the ball of the toes. Whereas if you do it the other way around and you learn the pivot and coming up onto your toes first, most people, in my experience at least, they're able to then learn the flat foot variety and they enjoy the stability and they enjoy the extra power that you can get out of it. And then you then have the option. It's a little bit like my friend who's a snowboarding instructor. He says people that learn to snowboard first don't typically learn to ski, whereas people who learn to ski first generally don't have that much of a problem also learning to snowboard. So with your roundhouse kicks, There is no right or wrong way. It depends on the situation. Sometimes you're going to benefit more from the power of a flat foot and a stable position, and sometimes you're going to benefit from the speed and the agility. And don't forget, just because you're doing a kick faster and less stable doesn't mean it's going to be weaker. If you move fast, you can still generate force. So it depends. If anyone says they've got to do it one way, they've got to do it the other way. Send them to my video or send them to Jonah's video. I'm going to link that below. So if you want to hear what he's got to say on that, head over to his channel and subscribe as well. He's got lots of Muay Thai techniques, and he's got lots of training videos, and he's got lots of videos where he's talking like this, lots of vlogs too. So go and check him out. And if you do, tell him I sent you. Now, like I said at the start of the video, I hope you're doing well. If you've made it this far throughout the video, if you've got any questions, leave them below. I'd love to answer them, whether it's about roundhouse kicks or whether it's about anything else to do with martial arts. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.